already enjoying the EUS Challenge Series, you can enjoy it even more as we're powered by eSports Venture. So if you're in chat right now, type !bet and you'll get a link to eSports Venture where you can bet on from the semi-finals, the finals, and also LCS games and more. So put !bet in chat, you'll get a link in there and a redeem code for Chaos TV. So if you donate $20 euros minimum, gotta remember we're working in euros here, you'll get a €5 bonus and a 10% welcome bonus. If you end up depositing 20 euros, you'll get 10% extra plus the €5, so you'll get 27 euros on your first deposit as well. So make sure you get that in time before the semi-finals. But now we're headed into game number 2 between Dark Passage and Pulse here in the quarterfinals.
And the first game did go to Pulse eSports, who looked very strong in that game. Dark Passage just kind of fell behind. The composition was a bit too flimsy to work if they even fell behind very slightly, and that kind of just cascaded out of control. This time round, Dark Passage already opening up with a much more tankier pick of that Thresh.
Yeah, I'm a lot happier with that. I'm just going to be straight up honest that I am not so keen on glass cannon team compositions, especially when your top laner is a rather flimsy camera. I think they can work, but as we see the game progress a lot more later with the recent changes, it's just difficult to get these early game compositions to work because you have to be so far ahead by about 15-20 minute mark that the other team just can never get back into it. So I'm much happier with this first pick on Thresh.
Yeah, and of course his W is Dark Passage, so, you know, it just makes sense for their team to pick that one up. But from the opposing team of Pulse eSports, they have picked up the Lee Sin. And we'll be following up with another pick, Lee Sin. We see quite a lot in the challenges scene. There's a lot of very good Lee Sin players, usually in the jungle, not too often in the top lane or indeed the mid lane. But Caston, we didn't really talk about too much about the bans, but they're basically the same as the first game. There didn't really need to be any changes in the bans, honestly, because nothing, or all the things that caused them issues would have been mitigated if they'd just gone for a different team composition. So Dark Passage have read that and they're just going to do something very similar. Gragas was kind of out of control, and that was the only targeted ban.
And we're seeing Alendex actually pick up quite a bold pick here, picking Leona into Thresh. We talked very briefly about how Thresh can flay away Leona. Yes, it's a bit of a skill timing on it, but that's obviously the comfortability on Alendex. We saw just how many solar flares he landed perfectly, and this is one of those times where you can be so confident on a champion that you're fine to pick it into a somewhat bad matchup.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do right here. So hover over the Olaf is going to be picked up, and the LeBlanc is going to be picked up on top of that. So they do have some beef behind the LeBlanc to deal some damage, and it worked out fine in the last game. It just didn't have anywhere to go. Okay,
so I'm not amazingly keen on a blind LeBlanc pick. I don't think she's overall strong enough to be able to say I'll play LeBlanc against anything. She's seeing a lot of play right now, and yes, she does have a lot of strengths against some mid laners, but there are others that really can just end up undoing here. So I'm wondering whether Pulse will go for something a little bit different here, because there are a few mid laners available that would do really well against the LeBlanc.
Go back to like season 1, season 2, just bust out the Galio, man. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you also look at Talon, who had adjustments recently. He now feels a little bit better on the way he does damage and the way he moves around. Also, Zed's available. So, you know, a lot of these AD mid-lane champions, and without picking their top lane so far, obviously I'm a little bit behind, they still have the ability to change around where their damage is coming from.
Yeah, and Pulse haven't even picked up their mid laner yet. They decided to prioritise the Renekton and their AD carry pick of Lucian, who worked out very well for Wallita last game. Went for a little bit of a different build with Trinity Force and the Blaze of the Rune King follow-up, but in response, we'll see what Dark Passage bring out here. So the hover over the Trundle pickup, which has seen a lot more play recently. Trundle has been played mostly against Mundo and Shyvana, and that's kind of where he fits in the meta, but people just started to pick him up regardless of what the lane is doing.
Okay, now that leaves Pulse's mid laner, as you were saying earlier. There are a couple of options. If they were to go down the AP route, there's also champions like Morgana that are available. The Black Shield will go quite a way to reduce a lot of the damage that LeBlanc can output. I'm just wondering, I mean, Naru seemed comfortable on LeBlanc, I will give him that. It definitely seemed like his roaming was good, but I wonder whether they can get it to work a little bit better for them, because they didn't pick up enough early kills to really hammer home that game.
Well, we've got 40 seconds for NIQ 760 to decide exactly what he wants to pick up against that LeBlanc. As he said, there are many good pickups available. I'd like to see some Talon. Haven't seen Talon in such a long time. Very cool champion. Brings basically what a lot of mid laners do bring nowadays, which is heavy burst. Great maneuverability in this high mobility meta. Could definitely work out. But still 20 seconds to go and nothing is on the board.
Yeah, right now I wouldn't expect them to pick up Talon because they'd have a very heavy AD team. So I think they will adjust away from that. But it's just one of these situations where, again, the same as Zelendix picking up Leona, Naru's just going, well, I'm just going to play LeBlanc and I don't mind what you pick. And it looks like Pulse are really taking a while to discuss this, because some of the better champions that are more commonly played are already banned out here. You look at a champion like Kassadin, who's not available now. If they were to go with Orianna, they may have already locked that in, as I am a little bit behind. That's just a consistent champion. I quite like that pickup. It's not a counter to LeBlanc. It's just a champion that LeBlanc won't crush.
Yeah, I think that's a valid statement. Like, she won't just destroy Orianna outright, but may need some help in that lane. Lee Sin will definitely offer that, a very strong early game champion. So, Rex in the top lane, again, just a very beefy composition from Pulse eSports, which is almost exactly the same apart from the Gragas swap out, if I recall correctly.
It's very similar. Just apart from yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's the same lineup. Yeah, I had to think about it then for a second, but I believe we are going to head into a very short delay for you guys before we load into the game. But make sure you are getting in your exclamation mark bets into chat and heading over to eSports Venture. So check out some of the bets that are available there, as we are in break and you've got all the time to do so. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Stick with us here for the EUS Challenger Series.
Full force.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Dark Passage and Pulse Esports in the second game of this best of three, the first best of three of three best of threes we have today. I'm see how many times I can say best of three in one sentence. But the first game went to Pulse Esports, and as expected, we have a very early pause. I am Pulse. I'm joined by Stress.
You will be joined by me in game, but as of yet, I'm not quite able to get in. So I will keep you updated on whether I'm able to get into the game.
Hopefully, spectators have not been disabled. I mean, the first game it wasn't, and I presume it was the same person who hosted the lobby, so it would blow my mind that it would be disabled. But you know,
You see, now I think spectators are enabled because the spectate option is available for me.
Okay.
It just gives me an error, so I'm working on it.
Have you tried spectating through someone else? Because that sometimes solves it.
This will show how selfish I am as a person, that I believe I only have you on my list that I can actually spectate from. But okay, I will. I'm going to attempt to get into the game.
Okay, no problem. But we do have a pause, and there hasn't been any update onto what we're doing, so not too much to talk about. But we have spoken about a little bit about the compositions. There's also some jokes about crystal meth that we can't make on cast. A little bit sad.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the most appropriate jokes, unless
Not
you
at this
want
time of
our
day.
Breaking Bad jokes.
It would happen. Oh god, the feels. But it's what 5:20 at the moment. It's not even close to the watershed in England. Bit closer in the rest of Europe, but you know, not too sure about the demographic. Let's see how many fab chants we can get in chat.
I am looking at alternative ways of getting into the game, so give me 1 second, and I will attempt to be there.
Oh, well, the game is being unpaused, so we'll see exactly what happens. Tune in later to see exactly how Stress gets into the game and how this game actually pans out, because we're back into the Rift, or onto the Rift Invade this time, coming out from Dark Passage. A bit of a pseudo-invade. They're going to see themselves an Orianna in the mid lane, who is kind of hanging out, and Dark Passage running their namesake. Well, the guy who has their namesake, that's going to be Fresh, hiding in the wings, seeing if he can find himself NIQ. Ping comes down, looks like they are expecting this invade to happen. I mean, Fabius did just walk towards the bush, so it wasn't the most subtle of invades. We'll be just heading around the side into this blue buff area. We'll see if we see Lennox trying to react to this one. They know exactly where they are, and Fabius is just heading behind Lennox. Ping has come down. Wooliter sitting in the bush, and they do not want to be sticking around. Fresh does not land a miracle hook this day, and they might just be wandering out. So no deep ward either from Dark Passage, so just making sure that jungle is their own, and Trio Biri is just going to clear out that ward. So I'm interested to know if Trio Biri is the same as Holy Froth, because that was a support player for Holy Things for quite a while. And Stress is not having too many... not having a good time trying to get into this game, so I'm going to be covering this the best I can for the first couple of minutes. Not the most ideal of situation, Stress.
Yeah, I'm getting errors saying that everything's still in Champion Select, when clearly we're not. So
Quite
I'm
definitely.
Gonna try a different computer and see whether I can get in.
Okay, so we're going to give that a shot, and at the moment we're not having too much action, because none of these lanes are super aggressive in the early game. I mean, bot lane you can see some more aggression, but by having that fresh pick, it generally just equalizes that out, making sure that lanes can't do too much with that Xenoblade as soon as Flay is being picked up, and usually you have the Flay being picked up at level 1 unless you go for that invasion, and then you will pick up the death sentence. But bot lane, not too much happening. Mid lane, going to be NIQ 760 facing down Naru. LeBlanc versus Orianna, and we said that Orianna doesn't get completely crushed by LeBlanc, can zone her out using that bolt, just keeping away from there, but Naru does have the opportunity to try and nuke her down. And the junglers, Crystal Meth, more of a control jungler on that Olaf, going to be trying to push Lee Sin out when he goes for those ganks. Should be able to deal him one-on-one. Extra 2 damage is quite difficult to deal with, and Lee Sin, his objective early game is to try and gank as many lanes as possible with that double buff he will be picking up any second, ganking this around, getting that extra damage from red buff. Will be securing that blue. So now the fun should start to begin, as Lee Sin is going to go ahead and round to the bottom lane and should be able to chain this in. Usually a gank you would see from the team of Dark Passage who have that Thresh, who should be able to chain the Dark Passage into the jungler gank. But Lee Sin waiting in just near the bush, doesn't want to get revealed by those minions just yet. See exactly how this gank unfolds in just a second. So Kicker moving into this bush, Elendix looks to follow through, Shield of Daybreak comes down, and the counter gank from Crystal Meth, exactly what we were looking for. Elendix gets hooked by the death sentence. Holy Phoenix is already in the face of Kicker's, flashes forwards, first blood picked up Undertow. Crystal Meth looks to go one better with Elendix. Gonna find himself underneath that turret, and Wooliter has to take the long way round back to his lane. So in the top lane now, just going toe to toe. We've spoken about the Renekton and Fabulous's Trundle pickup, and Trundle was typically picked up against Shyvana, picked up against Mundo. Shyvana, of course, gets the extra stats from her passive, the extra stats when she enters the Dragon form, and that's exactly what Subjugate tries and counteract. But Jokies will probably be quite happy to go more down the offensive route, maybe pick up a Tiamat rather than Hydra, so Fabulous won't be stealing that away. And Fabulous not having a good time in the top lane just yet. Trundle pickup doesn't necessarily work against all the matchups, and not too much going to happen. So Stress is still having some issues, and I'm going to be solo casting for the foreseeable future. We'll see exactly what happens. But again, in the top lane, Joki is just putting down his presence. Ruthless Predator, the enraged version of Ruthless Predator, not going to quite hit Fabulous. We'll hit more of a law in the action. So in the mid lane, however, Naru, this is not a law, going in for the gank. Crystal Meth lands the Undertow into Reckless Swing, but Crickers lands a perfect Q onto Naru. Flash is going to be forced out. The double buffs may well fall to one of these players. The Ignite comes down. That's definitely a dead Olaf. Kickers lands the Q. Will be following up to Naru. Gets taken down. Snared underneath the turret. Flash over the wall by NIQ. Double kill comes out. That's a very happy Orianna. Double buffs available. 2 and 0. Probably the best start you could hope for as a mid laner. But that's going to be pretty even over the board just at the moment, as that kill was picked up a little earlier. Go back to more action in the bottom lane. Elendix follows through with the Zenith Blade. Wooliter kiting himself backwards. Should be able to pick up this kill onto that support. Finally, it comes down with Ardent Blaze. And the Holy Phoenix is following through. Auto attacks aplenty. Pow Pow. We're pushing him back to that turret. 2-3 will be a scoreline. Pulse eSports gradually pulling ahead. Something we saw which is very similar to the first game. But Dark Passage running a team composition that is far less flimsy this time around. Something that has some grit to it when we head into those team fights, and we'll indeed be able to fight them toe to toe. Last time it was more about them going into a team fight and then them being killed, and we'll probably have less stringy team fights as well, because they won't feel they'll have the same burst they did in the first game. And Elendix does not want to be sticking around the turret for too long. Holy Phoenix able to nip in, pick up the kill, and get excited and run out again. So Olaf sitting in the bush, see what he can do about this one. Thresh also heading into lane, so they'll have that extra CC in the arsenal. Wooliter gonna try and farm this one out. Crystal Meth getting a bit edgy as he's sitting in the bush waiting to pick up this kill. Lennox still waiting around the area, and Wooliter unable to do too much. Heads in with the Zenith Blade into Shield of Daybreak. That nukes down the supports of Leona. Wooliter also gets hooked, but should be able to head himself back to that turret, the sanctuary of the turret's defenses, and Holy Phoenix will be heading back to base. Doesn't even head into the death chamber. So 3-3, again a very even game. So 2 kills in the mid lane will probably be more than anything. Fabulous going toe to toe with Jokies. Dominus has been popped, slowly grinding him down, trying to head his way back to turret. Subjugate has also been activated, but a full health Jokies is not something you want to go toe to toe with. We'll be just pushing it down the turret, doesn't want to go any further. Fabulous is going to go ahead and recall in that bush. And the mid lane, more than anything, is going to make it very difficult for LeBlanc to catch back up. This is something we were talking about in the first game, where LeBlanc was able to perform fairly well, but was not really getting ahead in lane. And that's exactly what LeBlanc had to do. There was a point in the game where it was like 2 and 4. Death Sentence doesn't connect in the bottom lane, and he wasn't able to get as fed as he might have wanted. Crystal Meth this time is putting way more focus onto the bottom lane with Elendix going in. He's already used his initiation, and there's no way he's going to get off this. Flame Chompers locks him down, and another kill picked up by Holy Phoenix. Last time around, we saw Leona's engagement being on point, and again they have been this time, but the decision making has not been so much. Every time he engages, the counter gank comes in from Crystal. That's exactly what he wants from this lane. So Trio, again, just pushing forwards onto Wooliter, more to push him away from the farm than anything, but Zap comes through, lands onto Wooliter, but the hook didn't land. so it's not something they can go all in on. So 4-3 is the current scoreline, and the advances to Dark Passage. Blue buffs have started to spawn, going to be donated to those mid laners, and not too much else going to happen. So when we head into team fights, Renekton is generally that champion who offers quite a lot in terms of AoE damage and does damage in general. Fabulous is more about finding the right fights in the jungle. The pillar is one large part of your kit, and you want to be able to use that to great effect, cut someone off, or make it very difficult for them to get back into the fight. And of course, the subjugate as well, not going to be quite used on Jokies. There it is, going to be going 1 versus 1. Jokies getting chunked very low, pillar comes down, flash going to be used to jump over that, keep himself safe. Wooliter doesn't get in the way of the hook. Bit of a law match in the bottom lane. Auto attacks come through once again. Lee Sin heading into the bot lane. See if we can get this gank off, but the ward in the bush. We'll make sure that's not going to happen. Ping comes down. They know exactly where Kickers is. And their objective is to try and waste as much time as possible. See if we can get the counter gank from Olaf, who at the moment is not quite in the right area of the map to do too much. NIQ 760 is exactly what's going to happen. These junglers unable to do too much this game. In terms of ganking, Jokies still sticking around in the top lane, didn't decide to go back, but with Fabulous not in too good shape in terms of mana. Not sure if he can go all the way underneath that turret. Ping comes up in mid lane. No, flashes up red, shrunk down to about 50% HP, but that's exactly why NIQ is not going to be completely decimated by Naru. If he can keep his distance, if Naru walks forwards, NIQ 760 walks on backwards. That's definitely not the way to pronounce his name. Command Protect, gonna be thrown up, and Naru just has to back on off. That's kind of how the lane goes. Can't get too close to 760. So again, Lee Sin still wants this gank to happen. He spent a lot of time down here. Finally, the engage happens. That's exactly why you pick Threat into Leona. The calling comes through. Counter gank from Crystal Meth. They knew exactly what was coming towards them. Box comes down. The hook doesn't quite land. Kickers forced to back off. Super Mega Death Rocket picks up Kickers. Woolites are not in good shape. Holy Fingers did get the get excited passive. Alendix locks him down. He may be sacrificing himself. Flake comes backwards. The zap comes through. Gets excited. Moves on to the second. Gets another kill. 3 kills in quick succession. 7-3 current scoreline, and the Lantern over the wall, Dark Passage, comes on through. Works out for the team lane, works out for Jinx, and the bottom lane it might be the tower that will be heading into the gutter. Not going to happen. Dark Passage quite content to just go back to base, get some items, something we haven't touched on too much this game. We'll see exactly what they pick up. So Jinx has a lot of gold. Bloodthirster picked up at 11 minutes is absolutely devastating for the team of Pulse Esports. Jinx tends to like to pick up the Bloodthirster first. Lucian is another champion who can pick up that Bloodthirster and could do another couple of things. Naru just forwards. He's got the juice. Jumps over NIQ's burst and zoning control from dissonance, but doesn't quite pick up the kill. It's quite tanky. Has already picked up the Chalice of Harmony, which helps you significantly against LeBlanc's burst. And we'll be going back to laning phase. Naru has another couple of seconds, about 10 seconds left on his burst, but NIQ not too content to sit around while Naru decides to wail on him. So bottom lane should massively swing in favour of Holy Phoenix, who's already stunk to her quite a lot of those zaps. Decides to max the switcheroo first off, which will increase the range, increase the damage, and the attack speed from Pow Pow. And Holy Phoenix is completely zoning away Wooliter. Wooliter not having quite the blind of game we saw him do in game 1. Crystal Meth clearing out the wards, and it looks like it's going to be Dragon time for Dark Passage. Holy Phoenix following it through. So let's take another look at some of these item builds. It was the Needlessly Large Rod picked up by Naru, and speaking about Naru, will be dragged in. Right, the shockwave knocks backwards, and that's not quite the execute Kickers was looking for. The clown teleports in front of him, doesn't land the resonating strike. Flash forwards into the auto attack will be enough from NIQ, with Crystal Meth being grinding him down. Kickers jumps over the wall. He has gone for this engagement. The Super Mega Death Rocket comes through, and they are not in the right side of the map. Get Excited comes out. Wooliter has looked to react, cutting over the wall. We'll see how much this one can do. The bottom lane, the 2 members should be getting Orianna out of dodge. Trio over the wall, trying to see if he can follow up. The hook comes through, lands onto Lennox, not quite the red buff, but the red buff will be taken by Wooliter. So advantage definitely to Pulse from that trade. Definitely came out ahead. Dragon is still on the board, however. Neither team was able to pick that one up, and both these teams able to go for that. Honestly, the first the first team who gets towards the dragon should be in pretty good shape to try and hold down the fort and take that one away from the opposing team, but towards a plenty will mean that it'll be a little more difficult to do. Top lane, again, going toe-to-toe. Fab has been dropped below about 20%, but is rapidly regaining his health using that passive, using that extra lifesteal from Bilgewater Cutlass. So, Lee Sin 0-4-4. Performing more of a utility role this game, hasn't been getting as fed as he may have liked, but that's exactly what Lee Sin was. There's not many Lee Sin players in the jungle who will want to get ahead and then start stacking AD items unless you're in solo queue, so not what we're going to be seeing from this game. In the jungle, however, Olaf hasn't gone massively ahead of Lee Sin, so he's not able to just walk into the jungle and 1v1 him, but that's something that Olaf likes to do. He will be an unstoppable threat when it gets later on into the game, but 8-5 is the current score. Dark Passage in relatively good shape, but the game is still too close to call at this stage. Mid lane, NIQ is farming this one out, still significantly ahead of LeBlanc, which is kind of to be expected when you have this one-on-one matchup. Orianna farms very well, has some AoE on distance. LeBlanc, however, primarily has to farm with auto attacks and doesn't want to be using the distortion to farm because that's basically your escape. So another gank from Crystal Meth, exactly what he wants. Elendik's a little more dubious about going for those engagements nowadays. Doesn't want to be just jumping in and hoping for the best, which is exactly what he was doing last game. He knows that Olaf will be around the map, but as long as they have vision on him, might be the engage that he wants. Still have a lot of burst output with that Lucian lane. Meanwhile, Lee Sin heading around the side. Ping has come down. They know exactly where he is. Lee Sin doesn't want to go into a trade with Crystal Meth, but at the same time doesn't know where he is. Water's gone down. Warden respawned from Crystal Meth and will be cleared out. And it has hit the stage in the game where we've hit the kind of swap up towards the greater lenses, those sweeping lenses that you often see. Typical for two members of the team to pick it up, sometimes to support and jungle, which is exactly what Dark Passage are doing. Sometimes you see even 3 being picked up to counter some of the extra wards which will be picked up by the competitive teams. Naru in the mid lane though picks up the shutdown onto Orianna. Wasn't even paying attention, looking more towards the bot lane skirmish. Both of the junglers hanging around, but didn't even require the junglers to get that gank going. Fabulous from the top lane was all they needed to secure that one. Now, in the bottom lane, again, well, okay, Joki's going to go on ahead and fight Fabulous, knowing that Subjugate was on cooldown. Kickers, this time going for this engage. Box comes out, doesn't arm in time, doesn't quite get the lockdown. Crystal Meth doesn't land the undertow. Doesn't want to go for round 2 either. Kickers lands the resonating strike and another undertow, just trying to zone him away. Won't be able to pick up the kill, but Atlantis goes in for the initiate. Lee Sin not around the area. Solar Flare comes down, doesn't quite connect. And this will be kind of all the strap going to see for the time being. Dragon is still alive, 16 minutes 30 into the game. Not seeing one of those go down just yet. Joki's was pushing away, Trundle away from, well, rather towards the top lane. Naru has found himself Kikis, knocks him over the wall. Not really the burst he wants to deal with right now. He is still fairly squishy. Hasn't picked up the initial spirit item. Means he is not too tanky. Has decided to opt towards the Sightstone, which is not a pickup we see all the time from Lee Sin's anymore. Has decided to go back into the bottom lane, but 1 versus 3 is not quite the trade he wants. Mid lane has also come down. Shockwave comes across, lands onto Crystal Meth. See how much they can do against Trio. It's not going to be enough. The Ignite was not enough damage, and Woolite Kickers are the ones who are going to be retreating flash forward into that standard combo from Naru. Not going to be quite enough to pick up that Kickers. Woolite still on the point of contention. Tether will land. Wants to stay in range of that turret. Lands 1. Double kill comes out. Get excited. Picks up another. 13-5. Dark Passage being in very good shape. Joki's has finally transitioned from the top lane. Naru heading around the side. Dark Passage, just to be a trade that they want. This is something they can definitely pick up the dragon. No one really to contest this. And they should be good to go. So Joki's still heading around the side, but Renekton not known as one of the best champions for trying to secure a dragon, and blue team will be picking that one up. So 4k ahead is the current scoreline. And they are in very good shape. So right now, Fabulous was left to his own devices in the top lane. Renekton following through. He'll be able to get there in time. Probably won't be able to take down the turret. So let's take a quick look at the item build. Trundle decided to pick up the Blade of Rune King, which is fairly standard against most laners. And Renekton decided to go for the Sunfire Cape, which is not something we see all the time, but especially in Trundle matchups rather. But it's something that is fairly staple on Renekton. In the mid lane, Again, fairly standard. Athena's Unholy Grail is a smart pickup from NIQ. He won't be looking to kill LeBlanc, so he doesn't need a death cap early, and he wants to be sustained, and also have the extra magic resist, which will allow him to keep himself healthy. So, Kickus will be assisting that one out. And from the opposing side, LeBlanc picking up the classic Deathfire Grass just to increase that early burst. 2, 2, and 3 is a decent scoreline. It's not exactly where he'd want to be, especially with his farm being not as high as his lane opponent. Not really being able to pick up all the kills he may have liked, but it doesn't matter too much because the rest of his team is doing very well. Olaf is in good shape. 4, 2, and 7 is his score. 5, 0, and 5. Holy Phoenix looks to be the playmaker, the MVP of Dark Passage. And kind of more of a Lorny action right now. So, Lucian has picked up the Trinity Force. Sometimes you'll see a Bloodthirster first, which is how his creator, Xenon the Stoic, has decided he likes him to be built. But Naru is just kind of waiting around the blue buff area. Crystal Meth is going to be the one to instigate this charge. Can't quite get in range for the smite from Kikis, and they cleanly get away from this. Pulse very aware they didn't want to fall too far behind this game, trying to pick up a fight or try and pick up a skirmish while they can. Lands a Q onto Holy Phoenix, trying to get that insect backwards, but not quite what they're going to find right here. Kikis got the Q available, lands it over the wall. Solar Flare comes down, there's the insect, knocks him back towards his team. Shut down for the Lucian, which will definitely get him back into that lane. Kikis lands another Q. The death sentence lands. They might be able to turn this one around, pick up a kill before they go any further. Ignite comes out. Safeguard. Is it going to be enough? It will be as he heads into that turret, but Fabulous wants that kill. That's going to be Subjugate on that fool. NIQ backing himself up. Culling comes across and pulled backwards from Flame. Auto attacks come down. Jokeys is just going huge. 1 versus 4. He's got dominance right on point. He's very, very tanky, but not tanky enough to block Naru's burst. NIQ steps in for a second. Death Sentence connects. And Trio has sets his allies and picking that one up. Woolite backs on off. And walks himself back to turret. So now Dark Passage just picking up the advantages and basically a role reversal. The blue team consistently during this series has looked incredibly strong. And that's how it should be falling. Not too much that Lennox can do by himself. Super Mega Death Rocket heads down the mid lane. Doesn't quite connect with anyone. Wasn't able to take down Wooliter, who was maybe the target of choice. Fabulous. Not going to be the one who's going to be followed by Kikis. Smart choice. Doesn't want to be going 1 versus 3 in that situation anyway. And the supports have both gone down the route of Coin, which is fairly typical. The Coin offers so much utility over other alternatives. The alternative, of course, being the extra gold generation from the Runic Shield, which we sometimes see from teams in NA in LCS. Aframu often likes to pick up that. Will be offering more to his AD carrier double lift. Hasn't always worked out, but has been seen in the North American scene. But the coin offers so much in terms of extra mobility and just the ability to disengage, re-engage. And if you don't have a Karma on your team, then it basically makes up for not having a Karma. Joe Keys is slowly being chunked by Holy Phoenix. That's what a 1, 6, and 5 AD carry will do to you. Kickers has not found himself in the best of places. Well, that's the Q, but I'm not sure this is the fight he exactly wants. 1 versus 2. Kickers waiting for that ward. Jumps over the wall. NIQ, but Naru in hot pursuit. He's got the burst. He might be able to take down both of these guys. Juke's out of the way of Shockwave. Crystal Meth seeing if he can get any further. And Pink comes down in the bottom lane. That's going to be killing spree for Fabulous. Pick up the kill onto that Leona. NIQ. They're going to just pause for a second and wait for Holy Fingers to pick up the kill. They can stack the kills onto that player. That's exactly what they want. Super Mega Death Rocket flies past the ears of Kickers. Quite happy with that. They probably got the vision though. That's why he's gonna try and escape while he can. Death Sentence doesn't quite connect. And gonna clear up the jungle. Mid lane looks like the right target for Dark Passage. Naru is quite able to, quite happy to destroy these turrets in a matter of seconds. Pow Pow will be assisting in that one. Joki's hanging out in the middle lane. Elending's doing the same thing as well. And Warlighter, that's not the way you want to be going into the middle lane. Best sometimes just to walk all the way around. And Elendix is actually going very far forwards, maybe with all the rest of his team. Did force out the Dark Passage. Kickers following through. Gets hooked by Fresh. Naru doesn't land his full burst onto right target. Dissonance and the standard attack combo from NIQ was enough to dissuade Trio from going any further. Undertow comes through and they have actually stopped this siege. So 30 seconds left on Dragon. That may well be the next objective for these guys. And Pulse is just finding it very hard to get back into this game. Dark Passage. The high mobility composition has resulted in another kill in the mid lane. That tether on top of the sigil proc damage was enough to take down NIQ very quickly. Kikis has found himself not in the most spectacular places, flashes over the wall. Not entirely sure if that was the best thing to be doing. May even survive this encounter. Dragon's Rage backwards, expending a lot of cooldowns to keep himself healthy. But it doesn't seem like they want to go for another engage. That's the second Super Mega Death Rocket just flying past Kikis. And Naru is still on the hunt for this kill. It has stopped them from doing too much else. But that's going to be another kill for Naru. Maybe an unnecessary flash, but still quite flashy. Mid lane, not too much going to happen. 22-6, significantly ahead in kills. And now LeBlanc is starting to get a groove on. A lot more gold available. See what she goes back with. 1600 gold should be enough for a Neasley Large Rod. Could be a death cap we're seeing next, or even magic penetration item, Woollighter, throwing out the culling, chunks down, Foley Phoenix down to half before Crystal Meth arrives, and Triel has come in from the backside. Doesn't look like Woollighter's going to get away from this. That's going to be donated to Holy Phoenix, who's now 8-1-5. Had he not died, he would have been legendary this game. And has picked up the Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, and Last Whisper. 3-item AD carry at 24 minutes is quite scary, considering Lucian is only on 1 item and a half. Be quickly on his way to the Vader Rune King, but maybe too little too soon. Bottom lane is getting very quickly taken down by Holy Phoenix, ripping that one apart. Jokies just not want to be there any longer. Slice comes out, and NIQ just using his ultimate just to keep them away. Flake comes backwards. Crystal Myth chunks him down with true damage. Nothing you can do about that apart from build more HP. Even that was not enough to save Renekton's life. Elendix and the rest of the team are forming up around this turret. But likewise so are Dark Passage. Solar Flare just only clips Triel. He will be taking the brunt of that burst. Crystal Meth is still sticking around. Box comes out. Elendix is just going to be stuck in one place. Fabulous comes around the wall. Chomps him down. Picks up another kill. Walks into the fight. Good to go. Inhibitor turret will be falling. Flash down from NIQ. This looks like the GG well played has been called by Jokies. Very fast game, 25 minutes into this game. Culling comes across to clear out the minions, but this has been a very one-sided game. Dark Passage just looking incredibly good. Lane Chompers comes down, and the zap, and the shutdown. Onto Fresh, not something you see every day. Jokies, Super Mega Death Rocket, finds its mark. Woollighter does not want to go toe-to-toe with that. Kickers knocks him backwards towards the spawn pad, not quite towards the fountain. The Bloodthirster, keeping him healthy, definitely paying dividends, is on the back lines. Good guy Fabulous does not want to go anywhere near that. This time tries to block it out, but not before the Q has already been landed. Shutdown comes out. This might be the time for Pulse to pick up some quick kills on the retreat. Lots of shutdowns to be had if they can just get in range. War Jump comes down. Kikis looking to get further in. Tempers does not quite connect. Woollighter drop to very low regions of the health bar. Solar Flare backup cooldown. This has been a very lengthy engagement, but in the backside, LeBlanc has just been finding self kills. So 1-for-1 even in this not so favourable engagement. Naru gets caught by Elendix. There's those on point Xena plays we saw from the first game. Shutdown, bit unfortunate, went to Liana. Not quite the right timing on the clips, but Kikis won't be too unhappy with that result. At least they kept themselves off their Nexus. So 4-1-5, Trundle in pretty good shape. Decided to pick up the Boots of Swiftness, which is again not an item you see typically in a lot of anyone. So NIQ 760 picked up a fairly standard Rabadon's Death Cap, the Fiend's Unholy Grail. Seems to be the setup of choice for lots of mid laners, Orianna included, such as Gragas, Ziggs, who benefit from the extra mana regeneration into just raw damage from Rabadon's Death Cap. It's just a fairly solid base to build anything off the back of that you decide to. Baron is a fairly sensible pickup. Crystal Meth and Holy Phoenix fairly content just to take this as a duo, and after that Baron might be looking for the fatal blow and the kill onto that Nexus, which will secure them the victory. Jumps over the wall. Triel looking to bring himself towards the red buff, and Holy Phoenix just looking scarier and scarier. Last scoreline in terms of CS to NIQ, but it's not going to be really too much to write home about when you have a 9-2 and 8 Jinx on the opposing team. Picked up another Bloodthirster, well on the way to a 4th damage item, which will look to be the Infinity Edge. Doubt it will get to that stage in the game though, as it's 30 or almost 40k 13k gold differential. They're going to try and find themselves a kill. This is probably the best they can hope for. Doesn't even nuke down the support. He is so tanky. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't claim one, but definitely picks up the kill from elsewhere. Wooliter comes in from the side, might be able to pick up the kill on Holy Phoenix. That's exactly what they would need to catch back up in this fight. Tether doesn't land from Naru. Yeah, trying to find themselves another kill. Maybe a bit too bloodthirsty, maybe the better option just to take down these turrets, which is what Holy Phoenix is opting for. NIQ comes back into the fight, but Naru's cooldowns are also back up, and that's what's way more important, because that equals a dead Orianna, or a dead kick, as the case may well be. Jumps over the wall, Bleed's going to come down from that red buff. Smart pickup. Naru just dancing around the ball, and this looks like it's just going to be them closing out the game. So a much more consistent game this time around from Dark Passage, evening us up to 1-1. Unless Pulse can pull off something miraculous, but maybe not really going to be the case. The second Nexus turret will be falling. Might be not able to close out the game just yet. Some engagement happening in the bottom lane, however. Fabulous find himself Wooliter. So it's just a matter of trying to catch up to this guy and waiting for those cooldowns. Pillars come up. Going to be cutting off that escape route, or just missing, and still going to fall out that chase. That might take a couple minutes, but the performance from Dark Pass has been way more consistent. Even though Pulse did pull ahead slightly early, just wasn't enough. They just kind of fell behind in all their lanes, and that was kind of the end of it. Naru really wants this kill. Again, Pulse tried to play with their opponents in the first game. Dark Passage are going to return the favour in this one. Naru going to pick up that kill. 33-11. This is one of the most even game I've ever seen, but definitely a game. Another minute left on the Dragon. Crystal Meth is in the top lane. I'm not too convinced they can even 2v1 him at this stage. So NIQ has his cooldowns available to him. Randomness comes out. Ignite comes down as well. Crystal Meth Ragnarok has been popped. It was quite a red Olaf. Just kind of walking around in circles and juking all the skill shots. Crystal Meth is good to go. He's out of there. Looking for the home stretch. Oh, it's not going to be enough. Blast forwards into the Shockwave. Kickers also expends the ultimates. Crystal Meth is still alive and kicking. Speaking of kicks, Kickers doesn't decide to finish off. It's going to be NIQ picking up that kill, but it did take them half a century to pick that one up. Holy Phoenix Meal in the mid lane, chunking down Jokeys with those rockets. This is not good times. One more auto attack. There it is. Culling comes back with Wooliter. Might be able to go for this trade right now. Point blank ultimate. We'll say no to that one with the allies coming in. Fab is going to be leading in charge onto the Nexus. Pillar comes up. Trophy in the face of them, and that will secure the second game, bring this to 1-1. They're going to try and get as many kills as they can before this timer comes up. Soul Flare comes down, Kickers walk back to the spawn pad, and that will be Dark Passage picking up the second game, bringing us to the all-important third game with this best of 3. So, a little bit awkward, 31 minutes of solo casting, but I am Pulse. Pulse just lost. I will be joining by, or rather be joined by Stress in the next game. Hopefully, he did have some bugs this game, but hopefully we should be jumping into the next game very soon, so I will see you very shortly.